Do you ever just feel like no matter how hard you try, the number on the scale just isn't budging? It's not going down anymore. And it got you to a point where you're just so frustrated, so discouraged, you end up just quitting. You throw in the towel, you go back to your old ways, and you think to yourself, why even try? Every single time I try to lose weight, I always hit this stumbling block where I can't seem to get any lower. Well, guess what? If that sounds anything like you, pay close attention, because what I'm about to share with you in today's episode is really going to help you out, not just with the mindset shift, but also giving you some practical tools and tips to actually get better results when it comes to you trying to lose body fat. Now, before we get into those tips, I just need to be upfront and honest with you and say this, okay? There is such a big difference between losing weight and losing body fat, okay? And I want to talk about that first and then get into those tips here that's really going to help you out, okay? Most people, once again, they're so obsessed with the number on the scale. And before we talk about the number on the scale, I just want you to just think about this, okay? Nobody ever asked you how much you weigh. The only time you ever really need to know that information is when you go to the doctors. That's pretty much it. It's not like you're walking through the grocery store or walking outside on a hot summer day at the beach and somebody says, "Oh, man, you look great. How much do you weigh?" Nobody ever says that, right? And if, let's say, you're a lady that's watching this and let's say you're looking great into, a new dress or you're looking great in your clothes for work, it's not like somebody else is going to compliment you and say, "Oh, you look great. How much do you weigh?" Nobody says that, okay? You are the only one that cares so much about the number on the scale. Why? Like, honestly, ask yourself that. Why do you care so much about the number on the scale? Because you're typically putting this number, as in maybe it's like, hey, I need to see this certain number. Maybe it's 180 pounds. Maybe it's 150 pounds, whatever the case may be. And you're portraying that as long as you weigh that, that number and you're seeing that, right? As long as you're stepping on the scale and you're seeing that number, you're portraying mentally in your head, there's a certain look and there's a certain feel. And that's why these false expectations are not really helping you at all when it comes to you on your health and fitness journey. All right, so pay close attention to what I'm about to say next, okay? The number on the scale, okay? Yes, it matters. But guess what? It is the least variable when it comes to progression on your health and fitness journey. Once again, it matters the least, but yet we are so obsessed with it so much. And I want you to just understand this. And once again, I'm going to get into some tips here on how to actually see better results, on how to actually lose more body fat. But you got to understand, okay? The number on the scale can be manipulated, okay? If you don't believe me, well, guess what, right? Try this out for yourself, okay? Don't eat any carbohydrates at all for an entire week. And by the end of the week, when you step on that scale, guess what? The number is going to drop. But if you're actually taking your progress photos, which you should be, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, if you're actually tracking your body fat, which once again, you should be, and we're going to talk about that for a little bit, you will see here that if you just cut out your carbohydrates for an entire week and you step on the scale, the number on the scale goes down. But your body fat typically doesn't change. Your progress photos doesn't typically change. So what does that mean? Well, the number on the scale, right, it is being just changed by just you not eating carbohydrates. Why? Well, think about it like this. If let's just say you ever drop your phone into a pool or ocean, right, any body of water, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to take your phone, put it into a bowl of rice. That rice is going to extract, right, the water molecules out of your phone so it can start working properly again. It's the same way, guys, when we're not consuming carbohydrates. We're losing water weight, aka glycogen, right? When we're eating carbohydrates, we're storing it as glycogen within our muscles, okay? And that helps us for performance, helps us for strength. Honestly, it helps us lose more body fat when we're eating, right, carbohydrates, because we can utilize that stored glycogen for more strength, which i.e. leads to you losing more body fat overall as your metabolism increase. This is why I'm not a big fan of, hey, cutting out carbohydrates, right, and doing all these crazy fad diets. But putting that aside, you can see that once again, the number on the scale, right, just a scale weight, is manipulated by the water, okay? There's fluctuations. How else can the number on the scale be manipulated? Well, hey, if let's say you ever go out to eat, right, and let's just say, you go to some Chinese buffet, whole bunch of sushi, right, all the good stuff, but guess what? There's a lot of sodium. There's a lot of processed, foods in there as well. You're consuming all that food. What are you going to be doing? you're going to be holding on to water weight now, right? All that excess sodium, you're now holding on to water weight. So now when you step on the scale, right, if let's say you go out to eat maybe 2-3 days before stepping on the scale and you're having, that Chinese buffet with all that excess sodium, when you step on the scale, it's going to be higher, okay? Just like how also if you're going out, right, for drinks with the boys, right, or cocktails with the ladies, right, like guess what? That alcohol consumption, that's going to make you, once again, hold and store water weight, okay? It's not necessarily like you're putting on body fat or you're dropping body fat, but once again, you can see here that just the number on the scale, right, if you're dropping your carbohydrates, not eating any, hey, you're losing water weight. Number on the scale is going to go down. Body fat doesn't change. Right? If you're going out to eat a whole bunch of sodium or going out for some drinks, once again, you're going to be holding on to some water weight. Body fat doesn't really change, okay? Reason why I'm saying that is because I do not want you to be obsessed with the number on the scale because you can easily manipulate that. And in fact, I have a whole entire career of manipulating the number on the scale because back when I was doing mixed martial arts and I was literally fighting in a cage, grown men trying to knock them out and tap them out, we always had to weigh in. And I would always walk around between 190 to 200 pounds. That's how I like to train. That's where I felt comfortable at. But when I fought, I would fight at the welterweight weight class, which was 170 pounds. So what does that mean? That means I'm typically walking around and then I'm going through what's called a water cut where I'm cutting out all my carbohydrates, drinking tons of water, right? Manipulating the number on the scale so that way when it comes to the weigh-in day, I'm weighing in about 169, 168, 170 pounds. But when I drink Pedialyte afterwards to rehydrate my body, right? Get some food in me, right? And all that excess that I've been, dropping, like the carbohydrates and everything like that, when I go back to, refueling my body, replenishing, guess what? By the time I'm actually fighting somebody, I'm weighing like 180, 185 pounds, sometimes even 188 pounds within just like, honestly, within less than 24 hours, my body has just dropped, once again, all this excess weight and then has put on all this excess weight. So why am I saying that? Because once again, I don't want you to be obsessed with the number on the scale. And that's typically the main reason why people get so discouraged and they quit way too soon. They throw in the towel. And this is why I'm a big advocate of, once again, learning what works best for your body type and how to create sustainable fat loss habits. So that way, hey, as you go through adversity, which you will, right? That's the inevitable. These small little bumps in the road, it's typically, right, areas where you can grow. It's typically areas where, once again, you grow stronger. And that's because you're overcoming the obstacle at hand. And this is why I'm a big fan of, once again, having the right support, having the right community in your corner helping you through this. That way you're not going through this journey alone anymore. But if you want any more tips and tricks on, how to lose body fat, how to keep it off once and for all, and knowing what works best for your body type, you can simply click on the link down below if you're watching this on YouTube. I have a completely free fat loss guide that you can go ahead and check out, okay? Now, with that being said, let's talk about, once again, fat loss, okay? We talked about weight loss and how it can be manipulated. I know plenty of people that also, hey, they're not eating anything. They're doing like one meal a day or some crazy fasting routine where, they're not replenishing, they're not refueling your body, and they're also literally just losing their muscle mass, their lean muscle tissue, slowing down their metabolism in that process, because that's what happens when we're not refueling our body properly, we're not eating properly for our body type, we're losing our muscle. That slows down our metabolism, right? So once again, that could drop the number on the scale, okay? I'm saying all this because I want you to focus on fat loss, right? And when it comes to fat loss, I don't even want you to be obsessed with your body fat percentage or your measurements. No, I want you to be more focused on how do you look and how do you feel. And just think about that. And here are some ways to actually help you, okay? For starters, and this is the first tip, you got to make sure that you're tracking your progress, okay? I don't mean just the number on the scale. I mean literally, use your phone. Every single week, I recommend just once a week, first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, take your progress photos. Like wake up, go to the bathroom and literally set your phone down, put on a timer, put on selfie mode and track your progress photos, okay? Because there are going to be some weeks where once again, you're hitting all your macros, eating more protein, lifting heavier weights, you're stronger, feeling great, you're looking great. But if we're not actually tracking our progress photos and we're only going off the number on the scale, we can see the number on the scale increase. Because once again, we're actually eating properly for our body type. We're lifting heavier weights. So what are we doing? We're building that lean muscle tissue as we're losing body fat. And guess what? Muscle weighs more than fat. So the number on the scale might increase, or maybe it might not change at all. And that could be a good thing. But once again, if you're only tracking your scale weight, not your progress photos or anything like that, you can get very discouraged because you're like, man, I'm doing all this. I'm hitting my macros. I'm doing all these workouts. I'm lifting heavier weights. Why am I not progressing? No, you are progressing. It's just that you are only looking at a form of progression as the number on the scale, which is the least important process in all of this. You're not looking at true forms of progression, which is how you look and how you feel. That's why, once again, I put so much of a essence and priority on tracking your progress photos, right? The second thing is track also, once again, how are you progressing in terms of your consistency here, okay? So you can do that with training, and you can do that also with the nutrition. So in terms of the training, look at some measurements, right? Maybe it's like your push-ups, or maybe it's like you go to the gym and it's bench pressing, right? Take a look to just see, like, are you actually getting stronger here? Maybe for push-ups because you work out at home, it's like, hey, maybe you got started here with maybe just like the first week only doing 10 push-ups at a time. But after continuing on with your training and continuing on with eating properly for your body type, you're getting stronger. And maybe after 30 days, now you can maybe do 30 push-ups in a row or maybe 50 push-ups in a row. So once again, even though the number on the scale doesn't change, you are still progressing. You are getting stronger. And that's what matters the most here. Once again, not the number on the scale. We're just putting some fake number to how we're supposed to look and how we're supposed to feel. But if you follow through with what I'm telling you to do, you're not going to need to worry about that number on the scale ever again. With the nutrition, take a look, right? You're tracking your macros. You're tracking everything that you're consuming. It's like, okay, am I actually doing the right things here? Most people, when they feel like they're not progressing or they're not seeing results, they're typically not actually hitting their numbers. That's just the sad truth in all this. You know, they are not actually focusing on, staying within a calorie deficit. They're not actually tracking everything with integrity, right? Maybe they're sneaking some chips here and there and they're thinking, oh, it's just a little bit, like I'll be perfectly fine, or just eyeballing things. Once again, small little things like that are creating bad habits for yourself. And that could be completely taking you out of a calorie deficit, or you're not hitting your protein goal, right, for your macros, and that could be sabotaging your results. So once again, the first thing, tracking your progress photos. Second thing, tracking your progress, i.e. your training, and then also, once again, your nutrition. Now, the third thing when it comes to making sure that, once again, hey, we're progressing here and we're actually seeing the results that we're looking for, okay? And that is to make adjustments. I think so often that, hey, we forget. Albert Einstein said it best. The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. I know plenty of people that sign up for our coaching program because they don't know what to do. That's just the sad truth in all this. They go on YouTube, they go on Google, they're doing all this information on their own. They're spending weeks and months and years trying to figure it out, but they don't know what to do. And then they find something to do. Maybe it's a diet, maybe it's a workout routine, and they're like, all right, this is the end all be all. I'm going to stick with this and just do this for the rest of my life. But they forget, and maybe you have also, that your body is a machine and it will adapt. And this is why you got to make sure to make changes, okay? You got to make changes with your calories. You got to make changes with your macros. You got to make changes also with your workouts. Because if you're not, hey, once again, Albert Einstein said it best. The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. So you got to change things up. So that way you're never in this stage where your bodies adapt and you're just going through the motions. Because I understand that is where it gets very discouraged. And maybe that's where you also have thrown in the towel and quit in the past. It's because you are working out. You are, doing all this with the tracking and following your diet, whatever the case may be. But you're not actually seeing the results you're looking for. And maybe it's time for you to make a change. So once again, if you actually want to see, better progress when it comes to you getting healthier, getting stronger, building more confidence, losing more body fat, follow through with those tips right there. They're not hard to do at all. And once again, to recap, number one, check your progress photos. That is by far the best thing that you need to start doing ASAP. Because if you're, once again, only going off the number on the scale, that's not true real progress at all. That's a fake number that can easily be justified and manipulated. Once again, cut out your carbohydrates, do a water cut, right? Like, go out to eat, have a bunch of sushi, have a bunch of drinks, not eat properly and not train properly. You lose a whole bunch of muscle mass. That number can change very easily, okay? The second thing that you need to do is making sure that you're actually tracking, right, your progress with your training to see if you're getting stronger, and also your nutrition to making sure that you're actually in a calorie deficit and actually hitting the right macros for your body type. So that way you can actually see better results. That's so important. And then lastly, once again, you got to make sure that, hey, you're making some adjustments here. Maybe you're cutting down on the calories if you're not seeing any, more progress. Maybe it's like you're shifting around your macronutrients around. Maybe also you're just making a form of adjustment with your training, which I recommend. There's so many different ways to mix and match the training for muscle confusion. Progressive overload, switching up the workout split, several different things that you can do to, once again, just aid you. So that way you're not even changing anything. You're not changing anything at all with the nutrition. You're literally just shifting things around with the training, right? With the workouts, with, the cardio. So that way, once again, you're not taking away your calories. You're not shifting anything around with your macronutrients, and you can actually still progress. And if you guys want any more tips and tricks or anything like that to just aid you and help you on your fat loss journey, once again, I have a completely free training guide, and you can access that by clicking on the first link down below if you're watching this here on YouTube. And as always, guys, this has been Coach Joe with Heartletics.com. If you got any value at all from today's episode, I would greatly appreciate it if you just gave this video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below letting me know your biggest takeaway, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Peace out, Girl Scouts.